Hello, everyone. I'm Maryann Patalano, author and New Thought leader. Welcome to the Healing Connection Network and today's episode of my show, Power, Perception, and You. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to share with you how the power of your perception can empower your life. The ideas discussed on this show can be found in my new book, The Peephole Effect, Perception is Everything. This show, like the book, will inspire you to recognize your divine greatness and the unlimited possibilities that await you. Today, my very special guest is Reverend Sheila McKeithen, author, attorney, and spiritual leader. So let me tell you a little bit about Sheila. Sheila is the president of the Universal Foundation for Better Living, where she serves as spiritual leader at the center in Kingston, Jamaica. She is the author of the book 12 Steps to Your Healing, and is also, like me, a district president at the International New Thought Alliance. She is a native of Florida and served as the assistant general attorney in Broward County. She is an in-demand spiritual and motivational speaker who shares her message of strength throughout the world. She is an in-demand, she experienced a miraculous healing in 1986 when she was diagnosed with a medical crisis that doctors told her she had only 6 days to live. And she is here today to offer wisdom and inspiration. So welcome, Sheila.
Hi, Maryann.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. Yes, thank you so much for appearing on Power, Perception, and You, especially all the way from Jamaica. Okay, so you are such an amazing...
Yeah, and I see Elizabeth is...
Yes, Elizabeth is on. That's great.
Yeah, and I see Elizabeth is joining us all the way from Norway. Can you believe that? Hi, Elizabeth.
Yes, excellent. Hi, Elizabeth. This is excellent. Yeah, so Sheila, you are such an amazing and strong woman of spirit. You really are. I admire you so much. And to start, can you tell the viewers about your spiritual journey from being brought up in the Pentecostal religion and now being a New Thought leader? So how did your perception of yourself and your view of life facilitate that change? What's that like?
Well, I came to understand that life was more than my understanding of it. And so I went on this search and I met Les Brown, the motivational speaker. And he was from Miami, and I lived in the South Florida area. And so he would have these community events that I would never go to. And one day I decided that I was going. And I went in and heard the lecture. And his career was just about to take off. He'd been invited to New York, I think, for Essence Magazine and interview. And I asked him as he was running out, I said, just recommend a book that I can buy that talks about what you said tonight. And he recommended 2 books, Key to Yourself, by Venice Bloodworth, and the book called You by Francis Wilshire. And I bought both books and I went home and I guess I read them. But what was astonishing was that Les Brown followed up. He called me and just asked me what did I read in those books. And wow. I was shocked, but I told him what I read. And he just said, wow, I want to invite you to church on Sunday. And I went to church and he said, look for me. And he was, of course, surrounded by millions of people. And I left. And he called me and said, why didn't you come? And I went to church. I said, no, I was there. He said, come again. And I don't care how many people are there, just come. So I went in and I stayed with him after church. And we all went to his mom's house for dinner. And that's how it all started. And then I was just kind of hooked on the teaching. I kept going back. I started class. What's amazing, though, is that I grew up in a tradition that you didn't ask questions, because to ask questions about God, about your spirituality, was to question God. And yes. So questions were not encouraged. I learned that from Sunday school. But in this teaching, I was able to ask the Reverend Dr. Mary Tumpkin questions. And she would answer them and in fact encourage questions. So I went every week to just ask questions. Remember now, these questions have been bottled up in me for about 20 years. And so that's how I got started. And I've been on the track ever since because I found it to be a practical way of living. And so what I find is not so much that it is a religious path that I'm following, but it is a way of living. It is a way of being and showing up in the world. And that excites me. So my spirituality and the religion, and some people throw away religion. I don't. Religion is the vehicle for spirituality. And so people are practicing different techniques, spiritual practices that are found in the various religions of the world. And they don't even know it. And so they think they've thrown away religion, but they really haven't. So, but it's a good thing, however people want to process, I think it's just fine. What is important, I have found, is that your relationship with the divine, by whatever name you know the divine, if you have a relationship, then that's what it's all about. So that's kind of my story. I mean, and that's it.
Wow. That's amazing. It's like a whole new awareness occurs to you, right? And it's almost like, wow, I can ask questions.
Absolutely.
Wow, I have a choice. Because I think in some traditional modes of thinking there is no choice. It's this is it, And so I just think that that's fascinating that, when we realize actually that we do have a choice and we can step into a new awareness. I know myself, I was brought up Roman Catholic, and I always kind of had my doubts about that, which is just what it is. And when I was introduced to New Thought, I thought, wow, this is really incredible. So I had to step into a new perception, a new awareness, and more than just step into it. I think we have to accept it, and that it's okay. It's okay, right, to have a new thought. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's okay to have a new thought about God. Because if you have a new thought about the God presence, the spirit, the eternal one, the creator, by whatever name you know, then what's going to happen is you're also going to have a new thought about yourself and your life's possibilities. And I think that's a good thing. Possibilities, if you can't, you've got to be able to move beyond the boundaries of your experience. Because if not, you're locked in. It's like you're in jail, in prison. It's like a young man said to me on Sunday after our service, and he's a member of another community of faith. And he said, I go to my church and I sit for 4 hours. He says, and I leave and I think, okay, so what just happened? What am I supposed to do? He says, I come here and I stay less than 2 hours, and I've got some practical techniques that I can begin to work right away in my life. And as it relates to the experiences that I'm having. And I said, that's such a blessing. And I said, well, make sure that you're not only a hearer of the word, but you're a doer as well. So when we know better, we must then do better. Go forth and do better and do it for you. And what you do is going to be a blessing not only to you, but to others as well. And I think that's a good thing.
Yes, that's a great point. Because if you're helping yourself or sort of recognizing the truth as we know it in spirit and this sort of thing, you raise not only yourself, but everyone else. And I think the New Thought teachings, which is basically saying that we are co-creators, that we are powerful, that there's only one thing going on, and that's the life of God or spirit. And that's so powerful. And we can, like you said, use it in a practical way. That's what's, I think, different about this, and what's so empowering about it is that we can actually use it individually in our individual lives, and then it ripples off into the collective as well. But it's practical. It's not like people say, oh, well, just this is, the law of, mind or creation, or what you put out comes back, or your belief systems and that sort of thing. It's not just saying that, it's you can actually see it for real in your life. So I think that that's also like kind of what you were saying is part of the point as well. So I want to ask you some other questions about sort of your book and how it was written and all that stuff. But After being aware of New Thought and these principles, which, as I said, states that we're co-creators of our life with Spirit through our strongly held thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, at one point you experienced a medical crisis, and you used your newfound, spiritual perception, your newfound spiritual awarenesses to enact positive changes in your life despite the crisis. So can you tell us about that?
Well, number one, in the teaching of the Universal Foundation for Better Living, which is a New Thought spiritual organization, our first statement of faith is that it is God's will that every individual on the face of this earth should live a healthy, happy, and prosperous life. And so, believe it or not, Maryann, to accept that in the face of a medical diagnosis that you have less than 6 days to live, and to begin to implement it, will for good, what does that mean for me as I face this medical challenge? Not only this diagnosis, but this prognosis. What does that mean for me? And so it was in, coming apart, getting still, even while in the hospital, and beginning to understand that God's will for me was life and not death. And to begin to embrace that. And then to ask this question, what is it about me that makes this situation that I'm going through welcome? There's something about me that has welcomed whatever is happening within me. That may sound strange to some people, but think about it. If you have mold growing in your house, there's something in your house that is supporting that mold and being there. And once you eradicate whatever that is in the mold, once you clean it off, won't come back again, right?
Right. That's a good analogy.
Right. So if there's something about me that invites something that's less than whole to come and live within me, to grow within me, to be a part of me, what is that? And so one of the things that came to me was forgiveness. That as a child, I resented the fact that my mother was not with me. And even growing into adulthood in my early 20s, I was still holding on to that. But if you had asked me that consciously, I would have said, oh, no way, I'm not holding on to that. My mom did well. She's great. She stayed in touch. We always knew where she was, blah, blah, blah. But inside, that little girl, Sheila, was hurting. And it was in forgiving myself in bond that I had some shifts and some changes. And so I began to see my life a little different as well. And so crisis comes, but in the middle of the crisis, we can examine it anew and begin to ask, is there something I am a part of that is supporting the existence of this in my world? And I asked that today on my Facebook page, and with everything that's happening in the world, much of it unpleasant that I wish were not happening. How can I be a catalyst for something new to come forth? How can I, Sheila McKeithen, be a difference today that will then make a difference? And so I began to work with forgiveness as it related to my health situation. And it didn't all happen in one day. People say, oh, am I going to forgive and today I'm going to get better? No. It was really over a 3-year period that it took me from one journey to another hospital, another state, and just working with myself to release myself. But this is the blessing. The blessing is that we must not be selfish as we walk through times of crisis, because many times you're walking through and you have been designated the hero in that situation, although it looks like you're the victim. You have been designated as the hero. And because you are walking through that valley and shadow of death, you are inspiring others to do the same. You are inspiring others to not give up. You're inspiring others to keep going. You're inspiring others to look beyond diagnosis, prognosis, economics, politics. You are inspiring others through your own walk. And so therefore, while it may look like you are the victim, you may very well be the hero. And I'm asking people to stay open to that as well.
Yes, it's almost like a crisis like you were saying, is brought to our attention. It brings something to our attention, something that's in our subconscious, some sort of either limiting belief or, like you said, unforgiveness, that sort of thing. And a crisis can actually be a blessing in disguise. And like you said, I think that because sometimes you're forced to, because it appears to be out of your control or it's very painful. You're forced to look within, and you're forced to, like you said, be that hero and sort of carry on with strength, not fear, not weakness. And you have an opportunity to tap into your source or tap into the strength of God during those crises.
And unleash your gifts and talents.
Yes.
And unleash your gifts and talents. Believe it or not, I've been shipped off to New York. And there was a lady who was my roommate. And of course, I had affirmations all against the wall, leading it all in the bathroom, etc., because that's what Catherine Ponder's book, Dynamic Laws of Healing, said to do. And so wherever I went, I had all this positivity following me up on the wall, etc. And one day she walked she came over to my side of the room and she said, Sheila, you missed your calling. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you. So today, I know what she meant. What she meant was that healing was coming through in ways I had not yet recognized because all of my roommates got up and left me there. They used those affirmations and I'm the one that put them up and they were all going home. But at that time, I was just looking through the eyes of me and look what was happening to me and why I wasn't getting any better. And I wasn't looking through the eyes of an overcomer. That wasn't my perception. My perception was victimhood. And so all I saw were people going home when I was the one doing all this work. But obviously they were doing the work too. But maybe, just maybe, Sheila, I was there to help lead them through. And then I would come through in the end. Now I see that, but then I didn't. So I had to open up my perception to even catch that, to move out of that I was a very selfish person. But I was through that crisis, what was being birthed in me was a sense of caring and compassion for others.
Yes, and who would have thought that experience or your affirmations or the experiences would serve to help others heal? What a blessing that is.
What a blessing.
That's incredible.
What a blessing. Yeah. Really but you have to be open. So the perception piece is that look at your life as a victor rather than a victim.
Absolutely.
If you look from a victim state of consciousness, you see a particular thing. If you look as an overcomer or a hero, then you see something different. You begin to affirm, as Anne Marie is saying, I am healthy. My body is whole and complete. And I am becoming all that I am required to be and all that I'm designed to be. And the divine design for my life is showing forth even now. And you begin to see that and say that. And as you do, then you begin to notice shifts and changes in your life.
Yes, and that really gives us something to think about, just for every one of us that's going through a personal crisis, whether it's, financial or personal or health or whatever, that, this discussion, I think, gives everyone something to think about, so that we're not fooled by appearances, because that's going to lead into my next question. So that there's one thing in your book where the seventh step is you discuss the power to overcome fear. And I do believe that when we go through a crisis, like I said, a medical crisis or a personal crisis, whatever, we tend to get very fearful. Mm-hmm. Now, can you elaborate on how we can overcome the fear and just give us some insight on that?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the book, one of the things I tell you is that you are first and foremost a spiritual being. And that means then all of the power of the divine that's available is available to you. So you mustn't forget that.
Yes.
We forget that love is walking with us. The power of the spirit is walking with us. We forget that all the answers are right where we are. We forget that. And so as we remember the power of mastery is within us, then we are able to perceive our situation from a different perspective. And you will never know what's possible for you unless you step out in faith. The children of Israel, as recorded in the Bible, in Exodus, everybody had to step into the water before the water parted. And so even as you look at that from a metaphysical stance, it means that you've got to take your whole self into the situation, whatever seems broken. Take your whole self. Step in, all your faith, all your love, all your gratitude. Step in, even releasing whatever it is that you know is causing you to be sick in the first place, causing you to be broke in the first place. Sometimes we're trying to please others. Sometimes we don't feel worthy of the good that we're receiving. Sometimes old playbacks from things that we've been told since we were children are playing in our head. You'll never be happy. Nothing will work out for you. You'll be just like your mom. You'll be just like your dad. You'll be just like somebody. And so we have to change that. The negative self-talk has to change. Begin to affirm yourself and affirm your life's possibilities. And you don't have to affirm them in front of anybody else. You can affirm them for yourself because you're doing this work for yourself, and to give yourself a chance to live the best life that's possible. So you're not trying to be show-offy. You're not trying to impress Sheila. You're not trying to get the approval of Maryann. You're doing what your heart says because it's for you to do at that time.
Yes, it's almost like only you can do this change, and it's an inner change. It's a spiritual change, a mental change. It's inside you. And although we can take sort of advice from others or read inspirational materials and this sort of thing, and even your book, like we can read that, but if we don't apply it, like we were saying earlier, it's not going to do any good. And it's also something that only we can do. You know, I often say that these principles cannot be done by a proxy, like by someone else for you, like only you can do it. But people can be an inspiration or a guide, or you know, the stuff that we write, you know, this is helping people, but helping them to realize that this is within themselves. So I think that's a good point. Like, it's nothing to be showy. You don't even have to tell anybody, you know, it's something that you do, the internal work. And then what you do on the inside eventually shows on the outside, you know. And I know for sort of fear-based stuff, I believe that when we're fearful, we give our power away because, like you were saying, we're not coming from a place of, well, spirit or God is in, around, and as me. So how can you be fearful on a true level if you know that God is in, around, and with you, like you were saying? So
in God, you live, move, and have your being, the scripture says.
Yes.
In God, you live, move, and have your being. And so to begin to embrace this relationship of oneness is key. And so we're not saying you of yourself can do something. There is no power at all in a word that you speak. It is the consciousness behind the words that you speak.
Absolutely.
So it's like one person could say, let's say the Maya Angelou poem, and you go, oh, that's really great. But then have Maya Angelou say it, because it comes out of the depth of her experience. And you begin to see it's not just the words, but it's a consciousness behind the words. So people often say, well, give me an affirmation. No, I don't have an affirmation for you. You have to come up with your own affirmation, because only you know what affirms you. You know what areas of your life need to be affirmed, and you know that better than anyone else. I can share affirmations that I use that touched me, but there is no magic in an affirmation. You have to bring the magic to it. Right.
And if it resonates with you, then take it on. But if it doesn't, then make your own in a way that you can relate to.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's so important during a crisis, is like, you know, and that's stepping into your power when you can recognize the truth or make a strong affirmation. You can abandon, I know in your book, you mentioned to like sort of abandon the victim role, because you can't be a victim if you know that this power is available to you, how can you possibly be victimized in that sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So just keep embracing the power of now.
Yes.
Of
yes.
in this moment. What can I do? What can I be? What can
Right.
I
Because it
say?
doesn't matter
How can
what
I help?
happened.
Right now. What
Mm-hmm.
can I do? What can I be? What can I say?
Right. Ask spirit or God.
Right now. Right. And that's your prayer work, your meditation time right now. What can I be? How can I show up? How can I serve? That's really important.
Yes, yes. And recognizing once again, as we've been saying, that God or spirit is in and around us and as us. So when we ask that question, we're not asking for like our own consciousness or I should say our own ego or limited experience to figure it out, because we can't.
Right.
But we know that spirit can.
Absolutely. Because God is wisdom.
Exactly.
And all the intelligence that there is. So all the answers are always, and remember this, all the answers are always right where you are. People think they've got to go on a plane and go find the answer. But the answer is already where you are, because it's wrapped up within you. Yes,
yes. That's just so true. And that's such a good point. I think that for people that are watching or listening, that's a great point to contemplate, that there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to be, just be still and know. I think that's where that comes from. It's like, be still and know, no matter wherever you are, whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm. And Psalm 46:10, actually, that's my favorite scripture. Psalm 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God. Be still. And certainly there are outer teachers who point you, though, back to your inner teacher.
Yes.
And there are people who do that and you resonate with them and it's so wonderful. But always remember, a true teacher will always point you back to the teacher within yourself. Because you got it. And you need to know that once you get home, that you have that what was sparked in that sense of community, that conference, that convention, that retreat, that time away with friends and family and people who support you, that what was sparked then, you actually get to take that with you, because that was already within you when you got there.
It was there all along, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're more powerful than you know.
That's exactly
We're
right.
We're more powerful than we know. And maybe that's what scares us.
Yes, a lot of people are frightened by that.
Yeah.
For sure. So, Sheila, we still actually have a few minutes left, and I don't want to miss the opportunity for the viewers to know more about what you're up to and what you're doing. I know you're going to be speaking at the International New Thought Alliance in July in Phoenix. And so why don't you tell us what you're up to? And I know there's another conference that you're going to be at in August. So tell us about that.
Yes, a couple things. One, I'll be at the International New Thought Alliance conference July 18th through July 22nd in Phoenix, Arizona. And you can go to the INTA website or Facebook page, INTA, International New Thought Association. And so I'll be speaking there. And that's going to be great. There's going to be a nice interfaith kind of gathering on the 18th, and Dr. Mitzi Linton is going to be leading that. I'm looking forward to that, because we all need ways to just work together, all of us.
Yes.
And so, that's really important. And then August 9th through the 13th, we'll be in Montego Bay, Jamaica at the Panorama of Truth Conference 2017. That's going to be really amazing. Our theme is transforming the pieces into peace, P-E-A-C-E. And it's a peace-based theme running throughout the conference. And although for many, life appears to be just falling to pieces, and many people see it that way, but we want to affirm that there is peace in the midst, and that you bring that piece of peace to whatever it is that you do. So if your finances appear to be falling apart, we have May McCarthy speaking on the path to wealth. That's her new book. And I think she's also putting together a PBS special. And over the last 30 years of her career, she has built 6 companies, 4 of which are multi-million-dollar businesses. And what I like about her is that she uses spiritual principle to share wealth with the world and patterns for wealth. And then, of course, we have our peace dialogues, and we'll be talking about initiatives in our own ministries that relates to, establishing peace in the world. And so we brought in Arun Gandhi, the fifth grandson of the great Mahatma Gandhi, will be with us.
Wow, that's
sharing.
excellent.
And he's also agreed to conduct a peace dialogue with youth of Jamaica. And so we're really excited about that as well. So we're really very grateful for partnering with Hanover Charities with that event. And we are putting together a package to get books for all of the youth that'll be in attendance. So we're expecting 200 youth in addition to the youth that'll be at our conference. So that's going to be amazing.
Wow.
Really happy about that. And then Reverend Ed Bacon will be there, the author of 8 Habits of Love. And, he's very socially active, speaks as it relates to spiritual community and the immigration issues and the issues that are surrounding so many of us in the world, social justice issues, et cetera. He was featured on Oprah's program, like for a whole year on her radio program. She was so taken with him. He's been featured on Super Soul Sundays as well. That's going to be great. I'm going to be there. Our UFBL ministers and teachers will be there sharing things that they're doing in their ministries as it relates to many of the action items that are on our plate today. Mm-hmm. The social protest issues they've been involved in. Our church in Chicago, even the Flint water crisis. They did, they sent water there. They've had coat drives. Other ministries are just helping in situations relating to the homeless and other social action issues that we're all engaged in. Members of our church here are engaged in theatrical productions that address social issues, taking them to the stage for people to, look at them and decide, what roles they're going to be playing. So it's just going to be amazing and exciting, but also a call to action for us to come together. Yes. And, to be who we need to be in order to bring about the changes that we want to see. So you can get more information about that as well. I posted some stuff on Facebook, my Facebook page, Sheila McKeithen, and that's Sheila with the black top. And also by just reaching out to us at ufbl.org, ufbl.org, and we can send you some information as well. The conference has gone really well. At this time, registration is based on availability of rooms. And so we're just really very grateful. It's a gift that we want to give to the world and to Jamaica. And so we're just really very grateful for it. And grateful to you, Maryann, for your role, what you're doing, hosting this show. And, just bringing insight and new perceptions to people that they can just consider, not that they have to accept everything that's being said, but just to look at how can I live a better life? How can I be more of the change that I'd like to see? And so I want to congratulate you for doing that and for inviting me in to be a part of that.
Yes, no, thank you. The work you're doing is outstanding. Everything that you just mentioned, it's so exciting. And, we're spiritual warriors, warrior women. And so I'm just so thankful for you taking the time today to be on the show. And just for everyone, thank you for watching. And everyone just have a blessed day. And thank you again, Sheila. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Blessings.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.